What's up, everybody? It's Scott,
I'm Jason.
and welcome to Liquid Carnage. Dude, we are on a brand new sound system today.
It sounds so amazing, bro.
It sounds so much better.
It sounds so good. I'm so excited.
Oh my God, it's amazing I can hear you. It's crystal clear. There's no feedback, and it's right from our cell phones. We can literally record anywhere. So Liquid Carnage can be anywhere, any point in time, and we can record a show for our listeners out there in the world.
And last year, last episode, you learned that I could actually be on the shitter, and I could record an episode.
Yeah, and that's not something I think our fans just wanted to hear. But hey, I will tell you what, though, if you do want to comment about Jason being on the shitter while he's recording a podcast, find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, all at Liquid Carnage. If you want to talk to our executive producer, Tom, I'm sure he'll have some comments on this. That's liquid_EP on Twitter. So,
wow, it's already a great intro, and I love the sound quality. I've even got a couple little music quotes, or not music quotes, but I got a couple little music things. I got a couple little noises, so we're gonna play around with this. We're gonna go upscale, baby.
Yeah, man, we're almost a year into this thing. I feel like we're finally getting high tech. We're no longer, what's the word I'm looking for here? Lowbrow? Well, we're still lowbrow, but we're getting some sophistication to us.
I like it. And like I said,
Yeah.
The nice thing is that we can record anytime, any
Yeah.
place. So for those of you out there who wanted to be on the podcast but didn't want to show up at Scott's house, we can now
I don't blame you.
We'll add you in. You can talk on the phone like you're talking to your mom or your brother or your family, and it'll be just like this. We'll have a great time.
And it's only $4.95 a minute, right to Liquid Carnage. That pays for the Liquid Carnage road trip. It's going to be a great time, we promise.
Oh, my God, that is going to be so much fun. In fact, now we could send someone else on the podcast to go, and then we could just call them and sound like we would be there on the trip. So we didn't have to go on the road trip anymore.
I think we still – why would we call it a road trip if we can't go on the road trip? That's okay. Do, man. That seems dumb.
That's a little bit of a quandary. Okay, I get that. I get that.
Right.
But
so on last week's episode, we kind of rambled on. It was a kind of a very reflective episode, if you will.
Yeah, we talked about the past. We talked about the present. Hopefully, we talked a little bit about the future.
And we got on the topic of history being written by the winners. And I forget who we were talking about. We were talking about the Karate Kid trailer for Cobra Kai on YouTube Red.
I watched it, by the way. I watched it. Yeah,
What'd you
watched
think?
it. So I have some opinions as we dive into this topic.
Okay, what is your opinion? Do you think that they are trying to make Johnny from Cobra Kai the hero of this, and Daniel the reluctant bad guy, so to speak?
Okay, I looked at it because I was one of those kids that got beat up a lot. So I look at it totally opposite. I look at it as it's kind of the same way as us trying to stop North Korea from having the missile. It's like, we just don't want that. So I think Daniel LaRusso is the good guy in this, trying to stop Cobra Kai, because Cobra Kai is empowering Johnny to become bad again.
Is he empowering Johnny to be bad again, or is Johnny being empowered to find his inner strength and inner self again and train these kids to defend themselves?
No, I don't think they're trying to.
We haven't seen yet. We've seen a 2-minute trailer.
Oh, dude, so if you watch the trailer, you can tell that the kids that are going to Johnny's Cobra Kai, they're turning out that they're learning how to be badasses. They're not going to learn to be good kids. Those kids are going to learn to beat up people.
I think anytime you take a karate class, you're not looking to go be a bad kid. I think you're trying to find some kind of self-defense or a badass. So they already put Johnny in the stereotypical, he's training the next reign of Cobra Kai, jackwagons. I think it's a little presumptuous and preemptive.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, I could see that Danny is trying to protect. Now, that being said, I think Daniel turned into kind of like that rich douche that thinks he's bad now because he makes a little bit of money. You could tell that was part of it too. And
that is what I'm thinking too. Like, they're going to try to paint him and like he's forgotten who he was. He has to get back to his roots. And through finding his roots, I'm predicting that he will realize that he and Johnny aren't all that different. And in season 2, they're teaming up. That's my prediction right here.
Okay. So the first season is to find the common ground of two mortal enemies as they try to go off in the world and develop their own friendship.
Yeah, it's very Kung Fu-esque from the set. Remember Kung Fu with David Carradine?
Yes.
Very much like that. Very, very, what's the word I'm looking for?
If you can snatch the pebble from my... then you could go in the real world. I got you.
Wax on, wax off.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but that got me thinking about other famous movies, because this theory was originally made famous in How I Met Your Mother. How the story was really Johnny was getting beat up by a bully that was Daniel LaRusso, and Barney swore by that. and he made sure that the guy who played Johnny, I forget his name, was the hero in every way he told that story.
Dude, no, wait a minute. You cannot, if you were in the 80s, you cannot forget Johnny's real name, the actor's real name. William Zabka.
William Zabka. Yeah,
Come on.
I know. I drew a blank. I drew a blank. Remember, I was still an early kid in the 80s. I was more of a 90s kid. Like, I'm late
William
80s,
Zabka
90s.
played the bad kid of about every 80s. Those of you who are close to 40 and above love William Zabka because of his badass name and because of how he was such a jerk in all those movies.
And we discussed this at length on Saturday while you were up here in town over a couple beers. We went into very great detail about William Zabka and my other theories. I'm very much convinced now, just looking at the fact that history is written by the winners. Am I right?
One could argue that the winners of any kind of battle can write the history of them being the good guys,
and that just made me think of other famous heroes from our childhood, famous heroes that we grew up thinking, God, these guys are badasses, or they're really cool. And if you look at it from an adult perspective or a different perspective, you realize, whoa, these guys are kind of pieces of shit. And we're really rooting for them because we think we're on the right side, you know. Like, and I'm talking.
So we've been.
I'm talking specifically about like Doc Brown, for example, from Back to the Future.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Doc Brown. Okay, so why is he a bad guy?
He's not like he's not the antagonist of the movie by any means, but let's not forget the fact he was working for the Libyans, building a nuclear bomb, when he stole uranium to build the time machine.
Well,
I mean, he's working for the terrorists.
He was working for the terrorists, and he was making the time machine, so it was does doing something wrong that produces a good outcome, does that make you good or bad?
Well, I guess that comes down to the winner. That comes down to whoever won that particular, we'll say, battle or era in time gets to determine, was Doc Brown a terrorist or was Doc Brown truly a scientific genius that was able to create time machine with Marty McFly?
Well, and so in that situation, you're saying that he was the bad guy, that he was a bad person because he was being with terrorists.
Well,
and nowadays, if you were conspiring with terrorists, you'd be considered a bad person.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be thrown in jail. And, you know, the Libyans came and sought him out in California and supposedly killed him. Clearly he didn't because there's 2 more sequels and a crappy TV show cartoon. But yeah, still.
But he was told. I mean, that's the good thing, is that good Marty McFly told bad Doc Brown that to put a life vest or to put a bulletproof vest on, and he did. Thank goodness.
That's true. That is true.
Because otherwise, what would the films be without the Western at the end on number 3?
And I'll be honest, the third one might be my favorite one. I had the most fun watching the third Back to the Future.
As a quick side note, for those of you who have watched or listened to our podcast over the course of almost a year now, you realize that Scott and I have very differing opinions about movies. And so this is another one of the you are out of your fucking mind moments in our movies that you think that the third one is better than the first one.
Well, it's definitely better than the second one.
Yes.
And the first one's good, but for the third one is just one that no matter what, when it's on TV, I can watch it at any point in time, and I'm stuck because I like westerns. And
okay.
I just like westerns, and I just like the way they played with everything. I thought it was cool. It was a fun movie.
You probably loved Avatar.
You mean Dances with Wolves?
Because it was Dances with Wolves. That's
the same fucking movie.
The
same fucking movie. So, but you know, you look at Doc Brown and Marty McFly on what side they're on. Clearly, Marty got caught up in the mix with that. But then let's talk about Indiana Jones. Yeah, he's always fighting Nazis, and he's killing Nazis, which is great. Fine in my book for the time era. But he's a grave robber. He's going to all these exotic locations and stealing things, claiming they belong in a museum.
Oh, very interesting dilemma you put us in. Again, because he's doing something good, but it's good based on his opinion and not necessarily good by someone else's opinion, that's what makes this a dilemma. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Granted, he's trying to beat the Nazis to all of these things, which is fine. And you know, granted, I would rather him beat the Nazis in every opportunity he gets to, you know, get the artifacts and save the day. But let's not forget who he's bowling over. I mean, he's firing at will, killing these people, throwing them off blimps, melting people in fires and temples in South Africa or wherever the hell they are. It's just things that make you go, It's fun to watch now, but when you take a step back and look at it, I don't know.
Well, look at every major war that we've ever had. There's a winner and there's a loser. And I'm sure that if the roles had been reversed, for example, the Revolutionary War, if we had lost the war, history would have pointed us as this rebellion trying to, get rid of the English from their territory, and the English successfully fought them off. And
speaking on that, how do you think the British talk about the Revolutionary War in their school systems? Because I remember growing up, yeah, man, it was tough, but we whipped their ass. We were the underdogs. We were David. They were Goliath, and we fucking took it to them. How do you think it is to them?
I would love to have a British person on the show or listening to the show actually give an opinion. I would venture to say they're probably over that, done that.
Yeah. You got a country out of it. We're fine.
We had diplomatic relations with England within like 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't think they really, I think they probably didn't like the fact that they lost, but I don't think that they were like so overly upset and angry that they really thought too much about it. However, we were looked at as heroes and champions and fighters of the right ideals. And yet if we had lost, history would have wrote us as criminals and people going against the order of the British Empire, and they had to be quashed and stopped. Yeah. You're right. I'm sure that they would have written that history a lot different.
It's just interesting to me. Maybe that might be something I research this week. Just see if there's like a British textbook I can look up online, and just to see what they think about their history of the Revolutionary War.
It was interesting. I was binge watching a show called Hitler's Inner Circle. And it was basically a 10-part show about the history of the World War II from the German side, but it focused on the interrelations with all the people who ran the German war machine. And when the Germans finally lost, only one of the main characters in the Inner Circle survived to the trials of Nuremberg, and his name was Hermann Goering, and he was a pretty significant role. He played a pretty significant role in the whole German war machine.
Do you think he's the one that made it because of Operation Paperclip? Like the other scientists and whatever else got picked off and put in the winners' science laboratories to develop new technology?
No, he made it because he was the one that didn't kill himself and everyone else did. That being said, now when he got to the trial of Nuremberg and they were trying him for all these crimes against humanity, he made the point that said, the only reason why I'm here is because I lost the war. If you guys would have lost the war, you would be up here against our trial, fighting the same thing. So even back then, with whatever mentality you could even decipher that would come up with that kind of logic, but even back then, the way that if he had won the war, we would have been the war criminals.
Oh, no, I agree completely.
So it definitely, history is for the winners, because if you're a loser, then you don't have, history is not written very well of you.
So would you call it almost like a double standard? Because I'm reading the news right now. I don't know if you've read the news down there about this teacher down in Goodyear. That's a 27-year-old teacher that was having, we'll call relations, but she was banging a 13-year-old in her class, man. And the fact that she was banging it was a boy that she was, and she was a female. I think the press coverage is a whole lot different than had it been the other way around.
Oh, so that's like that Mary Kay Letourneau story.
Yeah,
because he was 13 and she was in her 30s or something like that.
Yeah, this one was 27. Okay. For those that don't know, this happened. This is over the course of the past few months in Goodyear, Arizona. It's all over the news right now. She was having. She turns out, my assistant and I did some research this morning because we dove into this. Because I'm sorry, man, this one's a smoke show. She has no reason to be banging a 13-year-old. So we had to find out more.
Hey, love is blind, dude. Love
has an age limit, though. So It
Hey,
turns out
half your age plus 6, right?
half your age plus 7, but I don't think it works in this case because you have to be at least 18.
Oh, I see. Okay, so
So for those that don't know, she, I guess now in schools, sixth grade, this kid was middle school, sixth grade, that they had a group chat with the teacher and the students. They could talk about things during class or whatever else. And I guess she created a side chat and started flirting with the kid. And flirting led to her sending him nudie pictures and whatever else. And then they started having sex in the classroom and outside the classroom. Long story short, the kid's parents find his Instagram account and they find the text messages between him and the teacher, and the dad goes ballistic.
The dad goes ballistic.
The dad goes ballistic. And what makes it worse, in my opinion, and she's a married woman, her husband goes to defend her and try to get them not to press charges. Now,
okay,
before we go into the double standard, how much of zero self-esteem do you have to have? Your wife is banging a 13-year-old, and you have to sit there and defend her to that kid's parents, knowing full well that she's screwing around on you, a grown-ass man.
Maybe she's the major breadwinner.
She's a teacher, let's be honest. No offense to our teachers out there, but let's be honest about this. I don't think that's the case.
Okay, so you think that she's probably not the breadwinner, and he's embarrassed but doesn't want her to go to jail, or maybe doesn't want her to lose her career because it means so much to her because it's such an open hunting ground at that point that you want to make sure that you don't lose your opportunity to go hunting in the future. Right? Yeah. I get you. I
see. You're taking it from a different perspective altogether.
Yeah, that does seem kind of odd. I would have a tough time defending my wife, who was on so many levels. I mean, that's wrong. Yeah. But okay. That being said,
just to flip it, if this was a male teacher and this is a 13-year-old girl, oh man, the press would be all over this. Not that they're not all over this now, but there'd be the Me Too movement. There'd be everything involved here. And it seems like this is a lot lighter media, like on ramp toward it.
Yeah, I think that you're right. There is definitely a double standard when it comes to that, where if it was a 27-year-old male teacher who had sex with a 13-year-old girl,
that
guy would be in trouble. That guy would be bad. Yeah,
he wouldn't make it out of prison, man. He'd be fried. He'd be dead.
Yeah, that would be, and it doesn't even matter how good the 13-year-old might look.
Yeah,
it would look bad.
Yeah.
Whereas this woman, it's almost like everyone's saying, wow, what a stud boy, or something. Like wow, he could land a 27-year-old. Cool.
Yeah, he's going to get high five for this. He's going to get congratulated. He's got a story to tell everybody when he goes to school or whatever else after he grows up. And that's not right in this scenario. I mean, the kid was taken advantage of because kids don't know any better at that age. I mean, let's be real. And I'll be honest, if that woman, who, in my opinion, is a very beautiful woman, slid into my DMs, I would have a hard time saying no. I'd want to know more. I'd be intrigued.
At 13?
At 13, man, you think you're getting away with, you're robbing a bank at that point. You feel like you're just stealing the world. I'm talking about at 37.
No, but I mean, at 37, totally different. Because,
different story, different context.
You're an adult. But let me ask you this. I mean, like, I didn't ever have the experience in high school or middle school where there was a teacher who I was
neither did I
excited about,
there were no attractive teachers in my school.
Thank goodness I was at an age, where that didn't happen to me either. That no one approached me. But she did approach this kid and was overt. It does seem like her punishment, while legally might be as fierce, I can't see in the eye of public opinion if her punishment would be as ferocious as if it was a male teacher to a female student.
No, I agree completely. And looking back there, we did have a scenario when I was in high school that our women's basketball coach / science teacher did run off with our center after she graduated high school, and there was rumors of him having an affair with her through her junior and senior year. And last I heard, they were living very happily somewhere in the Pacific Northwest.
Are you serious?
Serious, but this guy was married, had a couple kids. His wife taught the room next door. I mean, it was
Oh
nuts.
my gosh! And
Yeah.
but they're still together.
As far as I know, yeah, but I don't know. You know.
Well, and my understanding is that that Mary Kay Letourneau and that kid still have a relationship after all these years. And
I've
that
heard
kid
that too,
now,
but I
he's
heard he's pretty
probably in his
controlling with it though
30s.
too.
What's that?
No, he's got to be his late. He's got to be maybe in his 30s. He
Well,
might be.
because this happened in the 90s when he was 13, so he would have been born in the 8. He'd probably be about your age.
Yeah, he might be a bit younger. And I've seen a couple of interviews with them anyway, and it's a very weird relationship. He's very dominant in that for being so much younger than she is. So,
Wow.
you know.
Oh. Well, and I guess what would be the? Do you think the punishment should be the same? Like, do you
I think so.
The girl
I
and
think,
the man and woman should be the same.
I think a sex crime's a sex crime's a sex crime. It doesn't matter who's committing it. I mean, it's got to be the same.
No.
The punishment fit. The punishment has to fit the crime, and you can't say, well, since you're a guy, it makes it this much worse.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think that our society seems to be a little bit more comfortable. I say a little bit very loosely, but a little more comfortable with a boy having that happen to him from a female teacher and not being looked at as predatory.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean? Like, it's not a predatory. And maybe the difference is because, it's a female that's attracted to a male that seems to get more leniency in the public opinion eye. I'm trying to think if I had a 13-year-old boy and I found texts and stuff like that, if I had found that from a teacher, I'm not even sure how I would have had to respond to that. I'm floored. I think I'm floored just like, you're 27, you're married. In what world do you find yourself falling for a 13-year-old?
Exactly. That's my point along. And then at what point does I can't figure out how her husband's even okay with this enough to where he's going to defend it.
Well,
if I was in his position, I was like, bitch, you're on your own.
No,
if you're going to do this,
yeah, no, I don't. I think that I have more understanding for, because he's in shock. He loves her. He doesn't want her to lose her job. He doesn't
want to lose a job.
Yeah,
she was screwing a 13-year-old. It wasn't like the gardener or the pool boy or the teacher that worked next door in the classroom next door. It was one of her students, not a college student.
Yeah,
not a high school student, a middle school student.
Maybe he's the type of person that doesn't want anything bad to happen to her, that it's going to be bad enough that she's going to probably lose her job, that she's probably going to,
When did you become the sweet one of the two of us?
No, I think it would. I see how he could defend her. I'm not saying that I would. I'd tell her, look, you made your bed. You can lie in it. Gross. Ugh. I just don't understand what, maybe it's a power thing. Maybe it's for her. It was, I teach him, I'm in control of him as a student teacher relationship. Now I'm going to try to control a physical relationship. I mean, I don't know, man. I'd have a tough time. I can't imagine what my wife or girlfriend or, the mother would do to a female teacher who did that.
Oh yeah. I was shocked when dad was on the call.
And, the other thing too, though, is what is the impact?
Yeah.
What's the impact to the kid? I mean, he obviously grew up faster than his life might have led him if he had.
Oh yeah. And I don't even know how this kid, does he stay in the same school? Does he have to transfer? Is this kid, how kids are with social media now, because his friends will tell friends and he'll be legendary for at least the next 15 minutes on social media.
Oh gosh. Yeah, no, I would imagine. And that's the thing too, is he embarrassed? Is he, upset that he's not with this woman anymore? I'd love to know that part of the story too.
Well, I'm sure it's got to be puppy love, and he's got to be upset that it's not going on anymore. But he doesn't know what real love is at that point. He doesn't know. He just knows that, man, what she was doing to him, it felt good.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have a tough time with that. Yeah, I'll have to read up on that story. I didn't read a lot of the story. This week was the week that Stormy Daniels had that interview with Anderson Cooper on CBS. Did you watch that?
No, I haven't. But what I read was it didn't really get you didn't find out anything we didn't already know.
Well, except for, there's some weird things about when you feel like you're in fear. She made it sound like that she was afraid that something bad would happen to her. And so that's why she lied and said that it didn't happen, and why she lied and said that, that nothing ever happened between them. And because there's signed papers that she signed basically saying nothing had happened. And now she's saying that something did happen. And
well, she's saying that Donald Trump never actually signed those papers. So,
well, yeah, so that's why she doesn't have to worry about getting sued dollars for violating the cutting you can't
the
talk.
NDA. Yeah, she didn't violate the NDA. But I did read that Karen McDougal is the bigger fish in this pond for Trump on that issue, because he was trying to buy her an apartment and all that and keep her on the side, hush hush, and she felt morally wrong, so that's why she broke it off with him.
Really?
Yeah,
she felt morally wrong because she didn't want to take the money from him, or
she didn't want to
morally wrong because he was married.
He was married.
Oh.
I think that was right around the same time as Stormy Daniels. He had met her, did the same thing, except she was a Playboy playmate, and he offered to get her a hotel or an apartment and all that. And they're saying in the news that she's potentially a bigger threat to Trump than Stormy Daniels is in the long run, because of the knowledge she has.
Oh.
And what she's, agreed to talk about.
I don't even know. I would imagine 30 years ago, if a politician had been found out that he was having an affair, probably would have ruined his political career. How far we've come in the 30 years. Now it's like no one even seems to really make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, no one better than I. That's the funny thing,
Yeah, so... so it'll be interesting to hear about this case. What do you think is going to happen to this teacher? What's your gut feeling on the teacher?
They said there was 9 charges of sexual misconduct, molestation. There's a whole slew of things that she get charged with. So I think she'll end up being a registered sex offender. She'll get all that. Jail time will probably be minimal. It won't be. I don't think it'll be nearly as bad for her as it would be for a man in that case. I'm just thinking out loud. I don't know what it. How women inmates treat situations like that. I do know that in the male prison world, I've never been, just for the record, tend to treat child molesters and pedophiles very abruptly, is the nicest way of putting it, and swiftly.
Now, I don't know how it works. Do the parents have to press charges for the state to get involved, or can the state get involved without the parents' consent?
I don't know. I would think that at this point they have enough evidence they can get involved regardless. They don't have to press charges on him. She has enough.
I know, but their only evidence was what the parents gave the police, right?
I think so.
Good Lord. Man, I think I like the debate better about whether Doc Brown's a criminal or not.
I know, man. This is way more heavier. This is heavy,
it's much heavier.
This is heavy. But these are the things that affect us in this world today, though, too. And it's. I don't think people realize how often this stuff goes on, and I don't think we realize how often this stuff goes on. And I would venture to say, if we Googled, teacher-student relationships like this, not that you should, because that's how you get flagged on Google, I'm sure. We would find that this goes on a lot more than we realize, and it's probably a lot more like this than we realize. With the female to male student. Female teacher to male student.
Well, and the other thing I think about too is it seems like our children are not as, they're adult in a lot of ways, but they're very childish for a lot longer. Like I remember when I was 18, I left. I mean, I went off to college. I lived on my own. I never lived with my parents again. I mean, I was on my own and doing my thing. Most kids nowadays don't have, it seems like most kids, a lot of kids don't grow up as fast. So if I did it at 18, you might do it at 22 or 23.
I think
27 to me is still pretty young. Like, well, I know,
but she's 27 and married at that point. That's the other thing. She's married at that point. So she's got a life. She knows what she's doing.
And if she was your wife, you would have dropped her?
Oh, man, I'd be furious.
Because
that is going to mind fuck you on so many different levels. So many different levels.
Especially if you see that kid like 5 years later.
Exactly, man. You're going to want to drop that kid 5 years later just on principle. The fact that you're a grown-ass man and she's running to a teenager, a preteen at that point, a tweenager, if you will, to get, for sex and whatever else. What are you doing wrong in that relationship?
Yeah. I think that's always a really bad feeling. That's got to be a bad feeling when you get left for someone who's, it could be argued, is not even half of the man you are.
Exactly. So, you know what? Hit us up with your opinions on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. Talk to Tom about this, because I'm really intrigued to hear Tom's notes on this. Liquid_EP. We hope to have Tom on the show here very soon.
Yes.
It's a lot easier for him. But I want to hear, what are your opinions on double standards, more specifically on this double standard? Because this is it's a very unique, not a unique story, but it's happening here in Arizona. So it's you and I have a front row seat, so to speak, to see this play out.
Oh, I hope we don't have to put too much emphasis on this story, because to me it's one of those stories. It's just a sad state of affairs that an adult, a teacher of a student, and we're not talking high school. Like, I even have a better problem with the kids that are high school students. At least, you're 16, 17, you're almost a man. You can almost fight in the wars. I can even go along with, okay, I can see how that could happen. But a 13-year-old, it's like, there's nothing that sounds,
good.
Very good about
that.
That
Does not end well for anybody.
And yet, 500 years ago, if you weren't married by 13, you were an old maid. So what does that tell you?
And on that note,
thanks for listening, everybody. We always love sharing with you guys. We hope you had a good time tonight.
Yeah, hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that Liquid Carnage. Tom at Liquid_EP. We all love to hear your thoughts. We want to see the social media thing take off, because Tom knocked us on that every week that no one's talking to us except for Jenna and Steph. So, hi ladies, thank you for listening, and thank you for being our social media response to everything. We appreciate that. That being said, Jason, take us home.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening to Liquid Carnage. That was Scott. I'm Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Carnage. And we're out.
Dude, that was good.
Dude, nice, dude. Yeah, that was about 30,
a good show.
Minutes.
Yeah, that's not bad, because I can clock it here on mine too as we're talking.
Hey, should we end that episode with the Devil Woman?
Yes, I think so. I think it's appropriate in this case.
All right, that sounds good, man. Okay, I'll start editing. That was awesome. That worked out perfect.
Yeah, man, I like the way that worked out for us. So,
awesome.
We're on a new frontier now.
All right, buddy. Hey, have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
You too, man.
Bye.